welcome back to Seconds Out. My name is Ayman Khan, here with the one and only Gareth A Davies. Gareth, we just witnessed the press conference for Floyd Mayweather versus Aaron Chalmers, an exhibition. We don't often, in fact, we've never seen Floyd Mayweather on these shores in a contest, and now it's just days away.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. It's always fun to be around Floyd. I managed to get a couple of minutes with him on my own earlier, and then he told me off for asking him a question about Tommy Fury and Jake Paul, and then he said, "Oh, the best radio show in Britain or the world." Like, he's great fun. It's great to see him here. I had a lot of, I say fun, very serious fights, covering him in Las Vegas for almost a decade when he was like taking over those May and September dates as they are, the Mexican holidays, the big pay-per-view nights. Extraordinary career. And I feel a little bit involved in the fight, not about me, but I feel a bit involved in the fight because Aaron Chalmers I've known for years, and I used to do a podcast with him. So it's funny to have charted Aaron's progress up to this for the last 8 weeks or whatever he's had to get ready, and to see Floyd over here. And, you know, he was very sharp today, Floyd. He didn't like children making noise in the press conference. He asked the children to leave, asked the parents to remove the children. He was very sharp about things. He wanted to talk about his career and what he's achieved. He has this way of daddying these influencers in these exhibition bouts, and he was great. I mean, he was brilliant to watch. I mean, he's the greatest I've ever seen live. You just couldn't take your eyes off him. It's definitely early in the fight when other boxers often had a chance before he worked them out. His fast twitch fibre, his abilities, that right lead, the jab, the movement, the fear etched on his face sometimes, but so brilliant in the office. It's been a privilege to cover his career. You know, 5-weight world champion. Came through the really tough fights. I remember the Marcus Maidana fight and him taking Canelo early, and so many great occasions, so many massive fight weeks in Las Vegas. He's here. For me, I'm here because I think it's a big event. If Floyd's in town, you know, you're here. It's for a reason, isn't it? I don't give Chalmers a slim and none, I would say, and Slim just left town, you know, as Don King used to say. You can't give Aaron any chance against Floyd, and if he hurts Floyd with a couple of punches or damages Floyd in any way, Floyd will be on him and hurt him. And, you know, the only guy that gave him trouble since the retirement really is Logan Paul, who must have been 50 pounds heavier and about 6 inches taller. So I think it'll be a good exhibition on Saturday night. But as I say, when Floyd's in town, it's always fascinating. He's a crossover star.
Gareth, I've got to ask you, for someone who's followed his career, as will the hardcores and as will some of the other established writers like yourself, they might say that fights like this, exhibitions like this, might sully his career. Do you feel that way? Is that a fair comment?
As he said up on stage, he's doing it for fun. He's passing something on. He's still involved. It keeps him entertained and involved and travelling the world. He's earning millions of pounds or dollars doing it. He needs to for his, you know, car and watch, art collections he's been doing, buying art, hasn't he, recently? So, does it sully? No, because I think there's a very clear demarked line between what was his career, and I mean, a lot of people have the argument that his 50th fight against Conor McGregor wasn't a proper fight. It was Conor's first boxing match, professional boxing match. And obviously they were two brilliant marketeers. It grossed $600 million US, which is extraordinary. No, I don't think it sullies his career. I just think it's a different phase of his career. He's not taking himself too seriously. And it's a bit like a kind of first-year student in a university degree pitting their knowledge against the most emeritus professor in that subject. There's a tiny scintilla of a twitch of light that something may go wrong for Floyd. But he's going to beat the guy, and he's going to show what he wants to show, and he's going to take them on face value. No, I think where it might sully, I wouldn't use the word sully, but where it might lessen his reputation is he is fading with the boxing fans, you know, so I doubt very much whether the arena will be completely sold out on Saturday night. I imagine there's a big crowd in, and the Newcastle fans are down with the Caribou Cup, aren't they? Final. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see it as sullying his reputation. He's just showcasing what he is. And I think as much as there's showman in him, as well as the boxing match itself, I mean, I think it's 8 3-minute rounds. No one actually confirmed it today, but I think it is. Do you know?
No, I don't know.
No, I tried to find out. No one seems to know. And we've finished the press conference and the interviews. So, yeah, weird, very weird.
Could remarks be made about the current state of boxing, considering someone like Floyd can come out, still warrant the money and the cameras? Maybe someone else hasn't taken that throne from Floyd to really grasp those ones and be that number one star, like Floyd was, and to a degree he still is.
Yeah, well, it was he, Manny Pacquiao. It was they were the two big names in that era. No one has really taken America since then. You might say Deontay Wilder should have. Tyson Fury did to a certain extent by going over to America. He's very well known as a boxing star over there. Yeah, I mean, he does. But he really crossed over Floyd. He was bad boys in America in boxing always resonate more. The Mike Tysons of this world, certainly since that period. And Mike Tyson was involved in that extraordinary era of brilliant heavyweights, with Lewis, Holyfield, Bowe, and the others at the time. So he's still a big name. He really crossed over. He did bad things, he did good things, but for boxing he was extraordinary, and I think he cultivated that bad boy image and it stuck, but he just does that and money pops out, doesn't it?
You spoke to Tommy Fury before you spoke to Floyd Mayweather. That's a good little duo, high-level duo there. But he's fighting Jake Paul this weekend. A lot of pressure put on the shoulders of Tommy Fury, especially by his own family. Tyson Fury says he'll disown him if he doesn't come back with a win. He can stay in Saudi Arabia if he doesn't come back with a win. How do you feel the fight does play out, Gareth?
It was the weirdest experience. You were just behind me, I think, when that happened, because I was on a Zoom to Tommy Fury holding my laptop as I was waiting to do the interview with Floyd, and Floyd ended up coming through the double doors and saying, "Oh no, I will do an interview with this guy. I've known him all these years." And I had them on together. That's a weird juxtaposition. I think Tommy Fury's the favourite on paper. I don't buy the bookies that Jake Paul's the favourite. I think Tommy just needs to hold his nerve. You cannot knock the confidence of Jake Paul. He's extraordinary. And he really believes, and he sold the event amazingly. But I just think Tommy Fury will get the job done. I may be proved wrong. They're both novices. But as long as he uses educated pressure in this fight, I just think he gets the job done. I'm going Tommy Fury, stoppage within 4 or 5 rounds.
And moving on to some breaking news, Gareth, I will read this out
For the whole statement?
No, not the whole statement. Don't worry about that. But I'll read
it's about 2.5 pages.
Yeah, I'll read the final line just to get your immediate thoughts on it. It says, the WBC shall include Mr. Benn in its ratings during the period immediately following the issuance of its ruling. Mr. Benn's position in the WBC ratings shall be based solely on his merit and customary factors the WBC ratings committee applied to the rating of boxers. This is after having seen the 270-page document. They've also stated, just to put it in layman terms, that they understand the sanctity of the testing that has been placed, and they also accept that Connor Benn didn't knowingly take clomifene in the system, having put those all together to come out with this decision. Your thoughts on that?
Well, they're saying they believe it's a genuine mistake. They're not. They're saying there's nothing wrong with what VADA did. They did exactly what they're meant to do, and that they didn't create any mistakes in the way they did it. So they're saying VADA did what they do, and they found clomifene in his body. There's no contamination. Yeah. They're accepting his explanation that he's had an overabundance of eggs, and that it's plausible. And at the same time, they're not saying this guy should not fight again. They're saying we're accepting the veracity of his argument, the truth of his argument, the genuine nature of his argument. They believe that he hasn't deliberately cheated. So now the tennis ball gets knocked into the other over the net now, back to the Boxing Board of Control. I've tried to speak to Robert Smith, British Boxing Board Secretary, already today, and he said they need to study that document. Obviously it'll go before their lawyers, and they will put out a statement, and I imagine the statement will run something along the lines of, well, we now need to see this body of evidence that they've put before the WBC CARES program, before the WBC judging committee, not judging committee, drug testing committee, clean boxing program, to just say, we need to see this. You haven't given us anything. We know what Robert Smith said. It's well documented. I've spoken to him myself about it privately, in the newspapers and on Radio Live, that they haven't received anything from Conor Benn's team yet. Now I imagine they will receive it, or they will request it, and they'll say, and then we can move onwards. We know that he surrendered his licence to the Boxing Board of Control, or relinquished it, last October. The findings were upheld, if you recall, by the Boxing Board of Control, that there were 2 positive tests for clomifene. So I think it's stage 1 of probably 2 or maybe even 3 for him clearing his name and getting back into the ring. He's always, I must add, pronounced his innocence over this, that he has not knowingly cheated, and that he is innocent of any wrongdoing in terms of doing it deliberately. So it's what we all thought was coming out 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's taken a bit longer for it to come out. I remember writing a tweet about this 2 or 3 weeks ago. We finally got it from the WBC, officially. And so he goes back into the rankings. I looked just now, he doesn't seem to be in the rankings.
Right, not updated yet.
Not yet. And this is, an opportunity for him to clear his name and get back. I don't think anyone begrudges him that. But the problem is, in the 4 months that's gone between October and now, nearly 5 months, so much speculation hasn't done him any good.
This harkens back to when Canelo tested positive for, was it Clenbuterol, I believe it was, and the WBC then made a ruling to allow an increased level of Clenbuterol for Mexican fighters because it's put into the cows, I believe, for Mexican meat.
Well, if found, not for them to take it, but if found.
Yes, correct.
And they went through the hair follicles for the date of his, if you recall. Remember, they cut his hair follicles and they examined it because, anything you take is still in the hair follicle. And they pinpointed it to a certain time. Not that Gennady Golovkin was particularly happy about any of that. But, yeah, I mean, look, you've got to find some ways around these things in terms of there being opportunities for people if they have genuinely made a mistake. And that's what they've given him here. They're accepting that he's genuinely made a mistake. I don't know, because I am not party to what he's taken, how he's done it. He never seemed like a cheat to me. I've maintained that. Don't want him to be guilty. He's only always been brilliant to deal with, and I hope he clears his name properly and gets back.
This is not specifically a question for yourself, but I just want to get your thoughts on this. The other side of the argument is, if it's in your system, bottom line, you're responsible for whatever you put in. We're moving away from that, maybe, if this is allowed, I guess. That's what boxing fans will say.
Well, if there's veritable science that taking too many eggs can give you clomifene because clomifene is related to chickens and eggs, then I suppose it's possible. I only read about it. I don't know the science of it. Do people cheat? Yes, they do. Why do they cheat? Because they think they can get away with it. I think we've always got to try and very carefully police what is an inherently dangerous sport. That's what the bottom line is, because if you're putting illegal substances into your body and you're fighting with another person, and that the residue of that increases your tensile strength and your power and your training and your ability to withstand punches and muscle growth and all those things, it's not right. So if people are cheating, they do need to get banned. And if they do it twice, they shouldn't be fighting.
As you mentioned earlier, the tennis ball goes back into the court of the British Boxing Board of Control. Do you feel now, it seems like a very obvious question, but I'll ask it anyway, that the onus is on them to potentially clear Conor Benn now?
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily to clear him, but certainly to look into it and give their own reasons and findings. One had seen this before. That's what they were doing. They were putting it to the WBC first, trying to come through that one. If they got a positive outcome from there, then giving it to the Boxing Board of Control, saying, right, now disprove it. Now disprove what we've just had verified by them. So it's still very legal for me, all this. It's a very complex issue, and it involves millions of pounds and someone's career and where they stand. And let's be honest, he was on the rise. as a superstar last October. We were all waiting for that fight against Chris Eubank Jr., and it still may happen, even though Chris is going to fight Liam Smith next.
Final question I want to ask you. This has all happened. The WBC have reinstated him in the rankings. Do you feel the boxing public will accept the reasons put forward?
No, there'll always be a certain number of people that will say, oh, look, he got away with it. That's what happens. They still do it with Tyson Fury and the boar meat, the wild boar meat. They do it with, as you say, with Canelo and Clenbuterol. It was Clenbuterol, wasn't it? It was Clenbuterol. So it's a complex situation. People will believe what they want to believe. I hope he comes out now and talks a lot about it and just makes it as transparent as possible. It was a very obfuscated process that we saw leading up to October the 8th. It wasn't satisfactory, left a lot of mud in the water, and it's still quite muddied water in lots of ways, and we need transparency in the sport for certain.
Gareth, good conversation as always. Thanks for speaking to Seconds Out. Much appreciated, sir.
Pleasure.